Single-parent families can be defined as families where a parent lives with dependent children either alone or in a larger household without a spouse or partner. There was a rapid and drastic increase in the number of single-parent families in the later half of the 20th century. This change has been used by some to argue that we are witnessing the breakdown of the family with negative effects for children, families, and society. Others suggest that single-parent families have been present in all societies over time and should not be viewed as problematic, but rather as an alternative family form. Regardless of how family diversity is viewed, the increase in prevalence of families headed by one parent has a major influence on social, economic, and political context of family life. Globally, 1/4 to 1/3 of all families are headed by single mothers. There was a dramatic increase in the single-parent families in the United States in the last 3 decades of the 20th century. Only 13% of families were headed by a single parent in 1970. Over 1/4 of children in the United States lived with a single parent in 1996, double the proportion in 1970. Between 1960 and 2016, the percentage of children living in families with 2 parents in the United States decreased from 88 to 69. Developed countries, in particular, are experiencing an increase in single-parent families as divorce becomes more common. The United States has the highest percentage of single-parent families, which is 31% in 2016 among developed countries, followed by Canada, which is 22%, Australia, 20%, and Denmark, 19%. In developing countries, divorce is not as common, but desertion, death, and imprisonment produce single-parent families primarily headed by a woman. 84% of all single-parent families are led by a woman. Out of those single-parent families, the most common are those headed by divorced or separated mothers, which is 58%, followed by never married mothers, 24%. Other families headed include widows, 7%, divorced and separated fathers, 8.4%, never married fathers, 1.5%, and widowers, 0.9%. There is a racial variation in the proportion of families headed by a single parent, 22% for white, 57% for black, and 33% for Hispanic families. The factors that mostly commonly relate to the increase of single-parent families are the changing social and cultural trends, increased rates of divorce and non-marital childbearing, increased employment opportunities for women, decreased employment opportunities for men, and the availability of welfare benefits that enable women to set up their own households. Within single parenting, both parents and children can be affected. Parents deal with many obstacles otherwise made easier with help from multiple people rather than just one.
Well, parenting in general is stressful. I think even under the best circumstances. So I would absolutely say stressed. A single parent, however, it would be much more difficult to balance work with children and their activities and cooking and house care and the whole 9 yards. Doing it alone would be much more stressful. So I would imagine they would feel very stressed and very overwhelmed. Probably judged. I was thinking about this earlier in that, for example, if a child, if a single parent has to do drop-offs at activities or something like that, a single parent, may be frazzled as far as being able to do everything on their own. And if they run late or something like that, then they may feel judged by other parents. So I'm not doing it.
Stress is a big factor for single-parent families, which can also be a detriment to their health. Health of single-parent families is different between the child and parent, as the parents tend to have a lower intake of fruits and vegetables, with the child typically having a higher intake, along with a higher intake of soft drinks. A reason for the child's increase in unhealthy food and beverages is the easy-to-make factor for the single parent on the run. Along with stress, many single parents and their children may have resentment for their current situation they are in.
I often see the parents having some anger and resentment for having to do everything alone or on their own. So really, it just depends on the situation. There's, or in the other, another case, if a parent is just not involved by choice, the child could feel a lot of anger towards that parent and then take it out on the parent that is present. So that's something that we see quite often.
Many single parents struggle with balancing their social life and being a parent, and some say that is one of the biggest factors on why single parents tend to be depressed, lonely, and have higher anxiety.
I myself, my parents are divorced, so I was primarily with my mother growing up. But we were lucky enough to have my dad involved. He was very involved. He was there to help, transport back and forth to practices and things like that. And he So he was very involved, and I don't know if I would be where I am today if my parents didn't both work
The
together.
outlet most children choose for anger only hinders that already precedent single parent. An emotionally unstable child on top of the task normally needed to be taken care of only adds more stress to the parent. Single parenting, as said by many, is not easy. Single parenting is one lifestyle many people do not choose. Several people have gave their testimonies on the toll this style can be by bringing up key factors on how hard, stressful, and depressing single parenting is. Without the help from the community, additional factors such as cost can set restrictions on what activities the child can participate in, the quality of food they eat, and the other wants a single-parent family may have. Single-parent families may have more limitations, but the ones who figure out how to balance the multiplied challenges can live a less stressful life.